Hi everyone, I'm back with my beginners series. I'm using some sea white postcards. I'll pop a link in the description. I'm also using a Cotman pan set and two brushes. I have got a round number 6 and a number 2 rigger. So I'm going to come on with some water. So I'm going to show you how to create a rainy sky or rainy scene. Keep it nice and simple. So we've got 2/3 sky. I'm applying water over that with my round number 6. I'm going to come on with some ultramarine blue. So I need to just dip into the water and bring that across. And a fair amount of colour towards the top, and then we're going to run that down. So I'm on a little bit of a taped to a bit of a pad basically, so that I can hold up and show you what to do. So I'm at about a 45-degree angle. I'm just going to make sure I've got plenty of water on here because I want this to run down. I'm going to come into some alizarin crimson, bring that towards the top. So just keep at this 45-degree angle and everything will start to run. You're mixing this through so it becomes a little bit of a purple, and I can actually mix through a few wisps further down so that they start to run a little bit. You want to go nicely dark at the top, then you want something that's grey, so something like Payne's grey. I'm using a little bit of burnt umber, because this is what I've got in this palette, and a little bit of ultramarine blue because that makes a grey. Basically I want a decent amount of colour for when we come to do the rain. This vertical sort of hold helps everything run down and creates a rainy sort of effect. If it's not running as much as you like, take a bit more in. So this is a little bit more of the blue coming in, so that I get that run effect. You'll find each paper slightly different. Most of the time I use a cotton paper, and this paper behaves slightly differently, so it's got a really nice run happening there now. Okay. Once you're happy with it, you lay it down flat and that stops it running. I want to have a bit of trees in here now. So I'm going to use, I've got this Viridian green. So I'm going to take some of this into the middle. So I've just dipped my brush into water. I'm using my round number 6 still. I'm popping that in here. Now this is very, very bright green. If you take some brown into it, you'll make a natural green. So that's the way to use that green. Otherwise it just sits in your palette forever. Unless you do Northern Lights. It's very good for Northern Lights. So I'm going to come in now, and this paint's fairly thick. It's still nice and wet. I'm going to create a few distant trees. Just a dab in action. Vary the height of the trees. vary the shape of the trees. Give my brush a little bit of a rinse. I'm going to come on with a little bit of water. I'm going to leave that tiny little gap in between so that they don't blend together. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of cadmium yellow and bring that to the front so that that's going to give a really nice foreground warmth. And then I'm going to dip back into this other green, some horizontal strokes, blend that through, just come towards the back. If you've got these little bits of light, that works quite nicely. If I dip into the burnt umber, just get a little bit of dark in places. Just going to pop a little bit of dark in. Get as close to that as I can. If you can see the tip of your brush, you know where your brush is going. I'm going to touch as close as I can so I only have that tiny highlight. So now I'm going to dry this off. Okay, so that's nicely dry. I'm going to twizzle upside down. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in a foreground tree. So I'm going to use the burnt umber. I'm using my round number 6. I've dipped it into water, dipped it into the burnt umber. I'm going to bring foreground tree all the way across. Now I like to work upside down when I do trees because I find painting to a point easier when it's upside down. I paint downwards much easier to a lovely stroke. This, I'm still with my round number 6 for now. I'm putting in the bigger branches. I'm staggering them off the trunk. I don't want them to come off the same place. If I come off at the same place, it looks wrong. Stagger them. This is just the burnt umber I'm using. Swapping down to the rigger now. Come into the burnt umber. Bring in some thinner bits. Thinner branches. I rest on my little finger. Takes a bit of practice, but it's worth persisting to get a really nice tree effect. Remember to cross over some branches. You can have some wispy bits at the bottom. I'm going to twizzle a little bit more. Again, it's that whole painting downwards thing that I prefer. Try it both ways. Try painting upwards. See which way works best to get that fine point for you. If the paint gets a bit too thick, it won't flow, so you've got to dip back into some water and then dip back into some more paint. And just practice, practice, practice. And these nice little flicky bits at the end of the trees. The more you practice, the finer you'll be able to get these little branches. You'll start to look at trees very differently. Start to study them more. in real life. Twizzle this round. So it's really just giving us some foreground interest here. It's always nice to have foreground interest. It gives you a sense of distance. All of these trees that we did wet in wet now look like they're receding backwards into the distance. So it's giving us depth. Okay, I'm going to dry that off and then I'll show you how I do the rain. Okay, so this has to feel totally dry and warm to the touch. So we're going to do some lifting out now. I'm actually going to twizzle this way. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is because I want the rain to be as straight as possible. If I explain that if I work from my elbow, you can see that I have a natural arch there. So if you're trying to do a straight line, it's very hard when you're working from your elbow. So if you twizzle round and work from your shoulder, you'll get a straighter line. It's quite hard to do straight lines anyway. So I have got my rigger. I'm going to show you two ways. So technically I said I was only going to use two brushes, but there's a brush that's a lot easier to use, but I'm going to show you the rigger first. So if I paint on with a little bit of water, dab off with some tissue, you get the line of rain. You can do that with a rigger, you can do it with a round number 6. The easiest way to do it is to use a flat. A flat, you keep it horizontal and you're going to paint a variety of lines in. So you do this gradually and you need to vary where they're going. So you don't want a set pattern. So it's within your control. You've got to think no pattern, no pattern, no pattern now. Absolutely imperative, otherwise it will look wrong. And you're going to work over the surface. And because we've got all this paint, and when you wet it, it lifts off a little bit, this works fantastically for rain. You can do a few. Remember to keep working from your shoulder, not from your elbow. If you work from your elbow, you'll have curvy rain. And it's just a bit of tissue or kitchen towel. You'll get that really lovely rain effect. If I go back to my rigger, you can add a little bit to this. So you're looking for the colours that are in the sky. So mine was ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. So I want a purple and I want to put loads of water into it. I'm going to twizzle again this way. And we've got the lifted out light rain. You can actually put in some strokes. Darker rain. They work well together. The trick is that you want it to be barely there. So you do not want it to be stripy. We're talking barely there. It also works very well if you've gone and got a really thick bit of white. You can break through it with a little bit of darker rain. because that does happen as you're learning. And if you've got lighter areas, it shows better as well. You just got to keep remembering, work from the shoulder, not from your elbow. You don't want it to curve. If it looks too prominent, that one looks a bit prominent, just dab it off a little bit with your kitchen roll. There we go. I'll dry that off. And there we go. So all the tape's off. It looks lovely. Nice rain effect for you to try there. Distant trees, wet in wet sky. A foreground tree for you to practice, and the lifting out of the rain and the applying of the rain. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do like, subscribe and share. I'll pop another video here, and I shall see you next time. Bye.